tabletop role-playing news. We aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG.
Hello, and welcome to Morrus's unofficial tabletop RPG talk. I am Russ, aka Morrus, or Morrus, aka Russ. And with me this week is...
PJ Coffey from the Southampton Guild of Role Players, also from Homebrew and Hacking TTRPG Design. Russ, even after 370 episodes, I am still delighted to be here. And joining us also... Yeah, I know. It is wild, but there we go. And joining us also a titan of the gaming industry, a sharp-eyed sentinel over the stewardship of D&D, and some say fond of animals that hang upside down from branches. Some call him the lazy DM. Others, Sly Flourish, but to us, it's the one, the only, the absolutely ineffable. It's Mike Shea.
Hello.
Oh, it's Mike. I was thinking Jess had changed. I was thinking, Jess, have you done something with your hair? No, It's Mike. Hello, Mike. How are you?
I am well. How are you guys?
Oh, yeah, great. It's Halloween. It's Halloween today. Yeah. We're all playing. I'm off out to a Halloween party this week. We got any Halloween gaming planned?
Yes.
For the weekend?
Yes, I'm running my annual Halloween Ravenloft game using Shadow Dark tomorrow with, I think, 3 people I've played with, 2 people I've not played with before. Yeah, so I try to bring a group together that I haven't played with anywhere else to enjoy a Ravenloft Shadow Dark game, a timed game. You have 3.5 hours to collect the items before Strahd shows up and kicks your ass.
Sweet.
So it's nice.
Are you going to have switch lights off and have everyone use like little torches?
That would be fun. No, probably not.
Underlit, under their chin.
Right.
Torches pointing out, illuminating them.
Just they literally get 1 hour, 1 hour candles to look at their character sheets, and in the dark they have to.
We did do one Halloween years ago. We did do it was outside. It was actually quite warm for October for some reason. Around a campfire once.
Yeah.
Really cool.
That's fun. Cool. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it this time though. It's so cold this time. Anyway. So I've had an interesting week. I made a very poor life decision.
I know. I was following it on EN World.
Do you make good life decisions, Russ?
Occasionally, but this one was not one.
Okay. Tell me more.
So you are aware that I have a number of tabletop role-playing games upon the shelves behind me.
Oh, is that what those are? Huh.
And for the last few years, they've been very, very disorganised. It's a look at basically the awful organisation.
Awful. Looks good to me.
That existed this week. I mean, this is just like things higgledy-piggledy. There is no sense or order to it. I mean, there's a couple of sections. There's a D&D section and bits and pieces. But generally speaking, it's just things just crammed in there where they'll fit.
They were on shelves, Russ. I don't know what more you want.
Yeah, right. Those look pretty good, frankly.
So I decided...
They're not in boxes or piled up on the floor.
Right.
Gosh. The camera is staying focused on me. We're not looking anywhere else in the house.
Well, I made the very poor decision to try and reorganise those shelves this week, and I have spent days. I thought it would take me an hour, maybe. It is taking days, and literally at the moment, I mean, it's so you can't see it properly behind me. It's so much better than it was, but I'm still almost sort of knee deep in books at the moment, all over. You can't see the floor of this room, but it is. When I try and walk out, I'm like stepping from one little island of carpet to another, trying not to walk on piles of books. It's like a bomb's hit. It's horrible. It's horrible, and I'm still not finished.
How are you organising them? Alphabetically, by
I know it's
genre?
Well, you know,
by spine colour.
Well, yeah, spine colour was one.
Yeah, organising them by colour. That's the way to do it.
I did consider organising them by page count. I thought that would be a fun way to do it.
Square root of page count.
Put the heavy ones at the bottom and then work your way up.
But what I've generally done is, apart from some exceptions, like D&D has its own section because it's such a big section, and then I've got a Pathfinder section, and I've got a section of level up stuff because that's a big section because, obviously I publish it, so I have them all. Generally, I've gone for themes. So I've got a Star Trek section, so it's got some of Modiphius Star Trek there. It's got some old FASA Star Trek. It's got some other bits and pieces. Then I've got like a superhero section with like 2 or 3 old 80s superhero box sets and some mutants and masterminds and loads of things like that. So I've gone with themes generally. I've got a sort of a 80s licensed box set. So I've got like the James Bond and the Indiana Jones and the Dallas that everyone keeps commenting on, and things like that. So I've got a section of box sets. I've got like 7 or 8 of them that are just these 80s licensed Ghostbusters and things like that. 80s licensed RPG box sets, mainly in terrible condition and taped up to keep the boxes in place. But I've got a section like that. So that's kind of the theme I'm going with.
Yeah,
it's working so far.
I mean, it's actually funny you should mention that, because obviously I immediately think of the A-Team when I think of 80s like TV tie-ins, and there are people playing role-playing games today who do not know where the face character comes from. So there we go. Yeah,
I don't think. I think the term predated face in the 80s.
Really?
I think it did. I wouldn't swear to it. But I think it did. I think that's
what do you reckon, Mike?
Because he was the face.
I don't know.
The term face man.
Right. He was called Face, wasn't he?
Well, he was called Face, short for Face Man, because he was the Face Man.
Yeah.
Right.
But the role of a Face
Man
predated.
Yeah.
But his actual name was Templeton Peck, wasn't it? That's his real name.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway,
you have outstripped my knowledge of 80s.
Okay.
80s TV minutiae.
Okay.
But anyway, my next stage when I've got it all done, the label maker is coming out, and I'm going to label each shelf with the different section names, and this is for most of my regular books as well. So I've got a whole TSR D&D fiction shelf over here to my right with some Forgotten Realms and Dragonlance and stuff like that up there. And then I've got a general fantasy shelf, and then I've got a Tolkien shelf. So I'm going to label all these shelves, because at least in my head, that means once they're labelled, I won't put things that do not match the label on that shelf, and that will keep them organised.
I was just going to ask for a library card. It sounds like a library organisation, which I'm all for.
Maybe I should just use the Dewey Decimal System for my books instead.
Can't recommend it. One, you'd have to learn what the decimal system was. Big problem. And 2, it would all be the same number.
The decimal system doesn't go down deep enough.
Basically, yeah.
I have a question for both of you. Do you cull your libraries? Do you go through and say like, okay, these are out now, and I'm going to give them away, or
yes and no. Duplicates. I have a crate of duplicates in the hallway out there, which is a massive, massive box, and it's probably got a couple of hundred books in it now. Enormous. I didn't realize how many duplicates I had. Some of them are duplicates of things that I made myself, and they're proof copies and things like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you count those. But I've got so many things that somehow I've acquired twice over the years, and I don't know why. So I've moved those out so that there's space. But I view my books and my games as a collection. And when I collect something, like someone who collects stamps or rocks or Funko Pops or whatever it is you collect, I don't get rid of them. I keep them because they are a collection. I'm proud of the collection. I'm like sitting in here surrounded by my books. It's just
I have no problem being surrounded by books, but I still I call mine. I will, once or twice a year, usually before a convention that I'm going to, I go through and read through them all, and if they don't spark joy, they get pulled off the shelf, and I donate them.
I can't do it.
Yeah,
and even books. There are books that I will never read. I'm like, there's a cookery book up there.
I
will never read that book.
Well, and the problem was, like, at some point you might look and be like, Dallas RPG, that's ridiculous. And then later you're like, man, I really wish I kept that Dallas RPG. Right? Like, it was one of a kind.
I am so glad I've kept that Dallas RPG.
Right, like that's where I could see the culling being a problem. But like, I'm not a huge Pathfinder nerd, and but I played a bunch of Pathfinder at a point, and I had a bunch of Pathfinder books. But I'm like, I really, at this point, the only ones I'm ever really going to touch again are maybe the core books, just for like a historical look. So I kept a handful, like 5 or 6 Pathfinder books, but other than that, I haven't.
I have a fellow Dallas RPG owner. There's more than just me. There's 2 of us in the world.
2 copies.
Gilthash there in the chat. There are 2 of us in the world that own the Dallas RPG.
Oh, speaking of cool collections, can I share a thing that I got to witness with my own eyes?
Of course.
So I was at Gamehole Con about 3 weeks ago and had the opportunity to go to the actual Gamehole that the Gamehole Con is named after, which is the owner of Gamehole Con has a loft above a restaurant that he owns where he plays RPGs, and he has I believe it is a collection of every single D&D product that has ever been made.
Wow.
Is in that one place. He was the one that managed. I don't know if you remember at Gen Con there was like that D&D museum. And that museum was his, right? That was his. I believe it was his stuff, and he was the curator that stayed there and talked about stuff. Wow. So I met him and I talked to him and I said, "What's your favorite thing here?" And he said, "Probably that." And he pointed at the ceiling, and on kind of the angled ceiling was the original Forgotten Realms map drawn by Ed Greenwood.
Wow.
So it is the one that Ed Greenwood drew in Canada and sent sheet by sheet to Jeff Grubb.
Very, very cool.
And it's one of a kind. And it said it was literally fished out of the trash. Like he didn't fish it out of the trash,
I have to be honest, I was half expecting you to say the Dallas RPG.
There was the Dallas RPG. No, he did not. That did not count as
every D&D book plus the Dallas RPG.
I did. The funny thing is, I had heard him on a podcast before this was last year when I went, where he said he had everything but the Monstrous Compendium because he hated the Monstrous Compendium, the second edition AD&D, and he hated it because you can never organize it. The binder, right?
Yeah,
and he had a good reason, which was when they later put out new monsters for you to put in, sometimes the monsters alphabetically would be between a single page.
Yes,
you couldn't. So there was no way to actually.
Because the pages are double-sided, so you have one on one side. Yeah.
So then I thought I'll be funny, and then I'll meet him, and I met him, and I said, "Hey, where's your Monstrous Compendium?" And he gave me this like deadpan look and reaches over and pulled one off the shelf. He's like, "I ended up having to buy one." He's like, "I couldn't take not having it."
Too much of a completist. Yeah.
Right. So I had to buy it, even though I hate it. So,
I loved those things. I wish they still did that.
I'm good. I don't know. It's an interesting idea, but I'm happy with our current bound books.
Fair enough. Right, I think we should probably get cracking with some D&D news because we've got a bit to get through. And then we're going to be talking about the new Forgotten Realms books, which Mike has right there. Wow. Pretty shiny books.
They're pretty. I got the special edition covers in my local game shop.
I think before we do that, though, let's talk about... Now, do you say Sigil or Sigil?
I would say Sigil.
Because the
we could go back to the one D&D
location
video and listen
Sigil,
to what they
isn't it?
called it.
We
They were so excited about it.
Well, I'm going to call it Sigil, just to be contrary. But you feel free to call it whatever you wish. However, we don't have to call it anything much longer because it has finally been laid to rest. So, as we know, back in, I think it was March, Wizards had a big layoff. And amongst those people, about 30 people, 90% of the Project Sigil team was laid off back in March. But they kept a small handful on for sort of not a lot of work, but maintenance, just keeping the servers running and doing tweaks and stuff, I guess. So they said at the time, the phrase they used is that we are sunsetting active development. Which I assume...
Not a good sound.
Yeah. That was back in March, and they laid off 30-odd people. As of this week, they have announced that Project Sigil is going away for good. They finally put it to rest. It's no longer... It has kicked the bucket. It is an ex-parrot, as they say.
I think one of the interesting things about that period of time after they laid off the 30 staff was they were still marketing it on their D&D Beyond marketing emails, and they were still putting out miniatures, and they were free. They were like, "Hey, we have a new Mind Flayer or new, Mind Flayer mini or new Mimic, right? We have a new Mimic mini," and they called them literally unpainted minis because they were just the gray. They didn't have any color texture to them, and you're like, "It's a virtual, mini." But I was like, "Why are you blowing your marketing real estate on this at this point?" And I guess it's like they had the models, and the models are in some pipeline or whatever. But that was really the curious bit, was like they continued to promote it with new quote unquote unpainted minis after they fired 30 people. and you're like,
Yep.
what are you doing? Like, I guess they were trying to, like, you know, shock it to life with the paddles.
Well, I gotta say, it's like whilst I'm obviously sad for the people who've lost their jobs, because it's like they just try to do their work. It's a hard world out there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they were very passionate about it.
Yeah.
On the other hand, I am also quite relieved personally, because I regarded Project Sigil as one of the biggest threats to independent tabletop role-playing games.
It was never a threat.
I mean,
I'll tell you, I can give you one good reason why it was never a threat.
Okay.
Everybody at the table had to have like a $2,000 laptop to play.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
well, there we go.
There was no risk of this hurting the, that was the issue, right? Like, now if you want to threat to the RPG industry, D&D Beyond, now we can have a conversation. But,
I mean,
but
that is also something
yeah.
I do sort of agree with as well.
Yeah, Sigil was not a threat.
So if it had loads,
My
I mean, I didn't look into the specs, but like the concept of like a gaming place that it's Hasbro, it's got huge amounts of capacity, could have been bad. But yeah, if you need like a really high-end PC, it's never going to get off the ground. So
yeah. If you, if you were worried about, as I sometimes fixate on the centralization of the RPG hobby around a single publicly traded company, D&D Beyond is the thing to worry about. Right? Yeah. They have, according to my own thing, about a third of the RPG players and DMs that reach my stuff are on D&D Beyond. Way more than Sigil ever was, right?
Yeah. I mean, people always get like really upset when I talk about monopolies because they've got this really strange understanding that a monopoly means there can be
game, Peter. It's just the worst board game ever.
It is, right?
Why people would get upset.
It is a terrible game. So when you've only got one, they've got the idea that you only need one company, and that's the only company that's outside, and that is the only possible monopoly. Where it's like, nah, man, if you've got like a company with like 8, with even like as much as 12% of the market, that has a monopoly effect. Yeah, sure. I mean, I know that, that, but it's like every time I mention it, people get upset, and I don't know how much the market D&D has, but I'd say it's probably
a lot more than 12%. I can assure you.
I know, right?
A lot more than 12%.
Yeah.
When they make a decision, everyone else is sort of caught up in the riptide.
Yeah. It's a whole other conversation. The good news is, to me, the monopoly has a floor, which is we have the system reference document and we have physical books. And as long as we have all those things, there's only a certain amount of control that they can pull over the hobby in general. Because lots and lots of people are still playing with old versions of D&D, and certainly lots and lots of people are playing with other RPGs completely. So
and download your PDFs, back them up. You've got that 3-2-1 thing that you've mentioned.
Yeah, the 3-2-1 backup. Yeah, you listen to my show.
I do listen to your show. I find it very interesting.
My wife is like, "Are you seriously going to spend a segment of your show talking about backups?" I'm like, "I am, because it's important."
It is important.
Yeah. Anyway, if we get back to Project Sigil / Sigil, it's still going to be available up until the end of October 26. So it's going to be around for another year yet before they turn off the servers or whatever it is they have to do. But those people who have used their subscription in the last 6 months will get a 6-month credit to continue using the platform. And they said basically all you have to do is to have logged in once in the last 6 months, and you'll get that 6-month credit. Okay. So I guess
you also, if you were one of the people that pre-ordered the core books, one of the little throw-ins for that was a Gold Dragon miniature file that you could have in your Sigil VTT, and they said everybody who got that will instead get a new virtual set of dice. My little funny quip was, hey, here's this digital thing that we can take away from you, and we will replace it with another digital thing that we can take away from you later. So, but whatever.
Yeah. They should have sent out an actual set of dice.
Now we're talking real dice. Now we're talking real money.
Yeah, a lot of people are very comfortable with the concept of renting things electronically when you're pressing a button marked buy. And to me, those concepts are distinct, but I guess that's just me showing my age,
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole conversation in itself, but yeah.
Another kind of interesting
thing. The world's
thing
going, though, isn't it? It's not just D&D, is it? It's everything.
I know,
everything.
but we could stop here. Right.
I don't know
another
how to
interesting
stop
thing
it, but we can.
Well, we could.
I've stopped using Amazon Kindle and moved over to Kobo.
Yeah,
because
right.
Amazon have said,
Yeah.
You're not allowed to. Yeah, you're not allowed to download your books. So it's like I never downloaded my books. I wasn't going to, and then they're like, "Yeah, you can't now." I'm like, "Okay, that's a really worrying sign."
I luckily got warning before they were doing that and downloaded all of them. I had about 300 books that I downloaded. The other thing about Sigil that's kind of interesting to me is that Tailspire is a 3D virtual tabletop that was on Steam. You could buy it on Steam. I think it was like I think it's $25 a client. So again, pretty expensive because like every single person needs to spend the $25 to have their local client. Of course, it's requires a full computer to run. And but they were there before Sigil started, and they're still there now. So they survived this whole thing and seem to have a business model that is lucrative enough to continue to fund kind of a similar, about as close as we're going to see to what Sigil had. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
How would you say
their maps implementation is quite slick?
Yes.
I am impressed by their maps implementation of D&D Beyond. Even though we've just been saying we think D&D Beyond is not necessarily a positive thing on the industry side. I got to give them props to say that the implementation of that it's
really good. Yeah,
it is good. It is slick.
We said it was a massive danger to independent gaming, Russ.
yeah. And the better it is, the worse that the greater that danger. But
I mean, I'm not saying it's a deliberate evil
scheme.
scheme. Yeah, it's like it's just in many ways a company is doing its best to look after its customers.
What I really kind of dig. What I really dig about that, what I think is really interesting, is the idea that in Hasbro they allowed 2 virtual tabletops to be developed at the same time for the same game.
I found that so odd as well.
And it would, every pencil-headed executive I can imagine would be like, no, we're only doing one, and we're going to do the big one because that's the moonshot, and that's where we're going to make billions of dollars. And they could have killed the small one, and instead they allowed development of both. And then in the last quarterly earnings call at Hasbro, they mentioned maps. Not only like the earnings calls rarely mention D&D ever, but to mention not only D&D and not only D&D Beyond, but the
free in September. That's why, and that drove traffic to D&D Beyond up by 50% apparently. So.
Yeah, that's what they said. Yeah, so that good, a smart move for them to hedge their bet with their own lightweight VTT. That's very good, right? And certainly it's well integrated with all of their other products. Like they're in a spot where. If you buy an adventure on D&D Beyond, all the maps, all the tokens, everything are already all set on maps. It's a powerful draw.
It is well done.
Well.
But hey, anyway. Let me move on from Project Sigil. Do you remember the cover art of the 1977 Holmes boxed set? D&D Holmes box.
I do. It wasn't blue. Yes. No. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That one. No. Classic piece. The cover art was by David Sutherland, and it features a red dragon, a wizard, and a fighter, as you can see there. But a company called Sirius Miniatures is producing metal, not plastic, miniatures based on classic D&D covers and artwork. And the first in this series is the cover of the Holmes box set from 1977. Oh, going the wrong way. And that is what the miniatures look like.
Oh, okay.
As you can see, is the dragon.
I can almost taste the lead, Russ. I can almost taste the lead.
I was waiting for the lead.
There's a zinc
lead
alloy.
Joke. It's not truly authentic if we're not getting poisoned by it.
Yeah. We're not using lead apparently for reasons. Who knows why? No lead.
Who can say why?
So these are made from a zinc alloy. So this particular set will cost you $49.95 in those there American dollars. First in the series. I don't know what's coming next, but that's the first in the series. They do look kind of cool, and I like the feel of lead miniatures more than I do the feel of plastic miniatures. They've got a heft to them that makes them feel more real. I don't know if that's less like disposable toys, which the plastic miniatures.
It gives them certain
toss the plastic miniature aside.
Goodness, like that is a whole conversation about plastics that is just waiting to happen. But let's not, because it just be me talking. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. It sort of feels like selling nostalgia, but for a time that never happened. If that makes sense. So I know that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but like this is that to me, this picture here looks like these are miniatures that I'd have expected to have been bought out, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anyone ever did.
I was gonna say that description you made, you could say about the OSR.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm trying to avoid the death threats, Mike. But
Just,
if you want to, then that's on you.
by the way, don't for the record, don't put my email address on the podcast if you would.
Oh no, I've got your phone number, Mike. I'm just
Oh my God!
up on screen.
No, don't text me.
Yeah,
With your,
as long as you don't have
sorry.
your website. As long as you don't have your website up, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I do think they look quite nifty. These. I'm not interested. I am interested to see what they plan to do, what the whole series is going to look like, and I mean, I'm not sure I spend $50 on them because what would I do with them? And I've got
it's
so
a bit.
many
I mean,
trinkets
you
and
know,
toys.
it's a bit dear for 3 minis. You know,
I think it's really more like,
and those are
collectives.
normal mini-size minis, right? Those are 40
Yeah,
millimeter.
yeah. Well, that Red Dragon is 75 millimeters, so
Yeah, that's not very big.
that-
I mean, it's
70
metal.
centimeters,
What are you
yeah,
gonna get?
it's
But,
small.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's really more like a collectible, like for an art project, say. So what you do is you get these, you paint them, and then you put them in like a little diorama, which recreates the original cover. I don't think you'd
maybe.
use them just as like general fun and games minis, because as you say, they are
Yeah, kind of a
wildly
collector's
pricey
thing.
for that. Yeah, like $50 will buy you a lot of
Plastic.
nicer, more modern looking models, and yeah, like just wild numbers of plastic.
Feels like fewer and fewer these days.
That's true. That's true.
I was getting for
Right.
a quarter a piece back 20 years ago.
Hmm.
Inflation. Oh.
I know.
Yeah. But yeah, like yeah,
Yeah.
I do
mean,
keep on buying boxes of skeletons.
The problem with this sort of thing is I would never paint them. I don't paint minis. I've got no interest in doing it. No skill or ability to do it, and no interest or patience or desire to do it. So I buy them and they stay silver. They would never get painted.
Perhaps they are not for you, then, Russ. Who can say?
I still like the idea of them. Though. That's the thing. I like the idea of them. I just won't put the effort in.
Oh, I see many things which I think. I see many things which I think are lovely, but I'm like, would I have that in my house? No. So there you go.
I painted minis and I really enjoyed it, and I should get back to doing it again.
It
was a wonderful hobby to get away from a screen.
I don't understand the appeal. I don't know.
That put on a podcast, paint some minis is a really good time.
Yeah, it's just like it depends what you're doing. Like some of it, I think there's different skill floors. Like
I was not a good painter. I'll tell you that. But
I gave up for a long time because I was just terrible at it. And then I found like the contrast paints, like you can get Sigil contrast or the speed painted ones. I'm just like, oh, okay. Now I spend an hour and I've got a really nice looking mini as opposed to an hour. And now I have a mini that looks terrible and it needs another 4 hours.
A little bit of ink washing, a little bit of dry brushing. Everything looks great.
Yeah. Basically, it's like.
Sounds hideous to me. Sounds like the worst time ever.
It's quite satisfying once you do it. Maybe I'll bring some paints around your house for us and we can feed them to the dogs.
He's too busy reorganizing all his RPG products.
That's true.
Figuring out where
one day I'll finish this project. Yeah. It is getting there. It is getting there. Yeah. Anyway, miniatures. If that's your thing, I gotta admit, I am almost tempted. Just because I know I wouldn't paint them is the only reason I probably won't pick these up. But they do have an appeal to me.
Yeah.
What can I
Good
say?
job.
Have either of you checked out the new Unearthed Arcana?
Oh, no.
No. The practical answer is no.
That's more.
So it came out this week.
Mm-hmm.
It brings back 5 subclasses.
Oh, okay.
And there's some real poetry going on here. Because they've renamed a couple of them. And the one that caught my eye, the way of the Drunken
caught
Master.
everyone's eye. Yeah.
Guess what they've renamed that? The Warrior of Intoxication Monk.
Yeah, right. It's all like biting into a lemon. What I can't get is I can't understand why. I mean, I can get that you're like, hey, having a character class that's built on alcoholism, maybe that's problematic. The answer isn't we'll just rename it but still have a character built on alcoholism. right? Like maybe
The interesting thing
don't
is
do
the
it.
previous version didn't actually require you to drink alcohol, but the current one does.
Right.
So they might have taken the ref. I don't know.
Does this mean I can't have a meth head monk? Is that what you're saying, Russ?
Right.
You Peter. If you want a meth head monk, you
Okay.
have a. I'm not your dad. I'm not telling you what. You
At level 6, I hear you're able to strip wires a lot more effectively. So that's obviously a key subclass feature. Anyway, but yeah, okay. A warrior of intoxication. It's a terrible name.
It's an awful name.
You're required to
awful
drink
name.
alcohol now.
Just stick with, if you're going to do it, stick with
Oh.
Drunken Master.
Well, you have the ability to create drinks, which when you drink them, you get abilities. So I don't think you're required to drink alcohol. But
I mean, is this not like a potion subclass?
Yeah, I was going to say, then
Yeah,
shift it to like an alchemical monk, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I know, right?
Basically.
An alchemical monk. Now that's something that's I'm like, okay, tell me more.
Mm.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's what they should
yeah,
have
because
just
then you
called
get
it.
into
I
like The
don't know.
Witcher, right? Now you've got sort of like the Witcher style
Mm.
of
Oh
you know,
yeah.
drinking your concoctions and whatnot in order to boost certain
Mm.
things. So like, yeah, there's something there that
Yeah.
maybe doesn't have to involve getting faced before you're gonna
Mm.
get into
Yeah.
a fight. But anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have
Well,
a high intellectual investment value in it either way.
No. Well, the other ones we've got the Path of the Ancestral Guardian, the barbarian subclass, has been renamed Path of the Spiritual Guardian. I don't understand why
Like
it needed renaming.
The spirit
but
guardian
okay,
as well. Okay.
Spiritual Guardian, yeah.
Oh, spiritual guardian, right.
Yeah. Path of the Storm Herald, the Cavalier Fighter, and the Oathbreaker Paladin, which is what we got the picture of up there now. The Oathbreaker Paladin.
Okay. I was wondering who the Death Knight looking chap was. Well, there we go.
Yep, that is a Oathbreaking Paladin.
Why is his eyes
Yeah.
glowing there though? Alright,
Yeah.
never mind.
Normally, a lot of the time, these Unearthed Arcana, you can kind of half predict a book that's coming by looking at them. Like, everyone's figured out Dark Sun's coming next year because of the recent Psionics Unearthed Arcana and the one that had all the Preserver / Defiler themed magic.
Yeah. And the special druids and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, so that made it really clear that Dark Sun is on the menu. He's coming soon. But this one is just a bit of a mix, really. It doesn't point to any particular campaign setting or anything like that to me. It's just five random, subclasses.
Xanathar's Guide to Everything's Greatest Hits remixed or something.
Yeah, well, 4 of these came from Xanathar's, and the 5th one is the Oathbreaker. Where does that come from? That's a Player's Handbook.
DMG, I think. It's not Player's Handbook. I think it's DMG. I'm pretty sure you don't have Oathbreaker Paladin in the Player's Handbook. Well, not in the 2014 Player's Handbook. Maybe it's in 2025.
Fair enough.
But
I don't remember the book well enough. It's been a very long time since I've opened the 2014 D&D Player's Handbook, I've got to say.
why would you?
Very long time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of good stuff there. It's undervalued.
I was just thinking the other day about when was the last time I actually bought a D&D product line, an official D&D product. I've bought a lot of third-party stuff.
Yesterday.
I've generally found that third-party stuff I just find more interesting.
Yeah, we had
I'll
on the
see
fine...
a Kickstarter, and I'll go, "Wow, that's a good idea. That's a twist. That's a, third parties just take it in directions that D&D,
I had some extra time on my hands this weekend and spent some time on the excellent RPG community website known as EN World, and over there,
the guy who runs that, complete.
Yeah, he's a little sketchy, but so far,
I've never heard of it. Is they still
but
played?
he's, what are you going to do? Where else are you going to go? So there was actually a pretty good conversation about, as the threads do on EN World spawned into different kinds of conversations, but one of the conversations was whether or not we should be expecting innovation to be coming out of Wizards of the Coast or not. And my argument is, like, you cannot expect big innovation to be coming out of Wizards of the Coast, because their goal is to be building off of, they're the only one that has to hang on to a 50-year-old brand and legacy with whatever they make, where everybody else could be like, yeah, we're not doing ability scores are dumb, we're just going to have ability
I agree.
modifiers.
Wizards shouldn't
Right.
be taking
Wizards
big swings
has to-
because they risk alienating.
That's right,
50%
and they have,
of their
right?
audience
They
just
have
like
taken
that,
big swings, and it did alienate their audience.
Yeah,
And then there's also to say, like, well, they have tried some new stuff. I'll talk about the new adventure formats in these books, but also Bastions is an example, Renown is an example, and then people go like, well, is that really innovation, or are they taking other ideas?
Yeah, of course.
And like, sure, that's how
Everything's built on something.
But like, it
isn't
took them like 5 years to put anything about safety tools in their products, right? Like, it took them forever. So I often get into arguments with friends of mine who are like, "Oh, Wizards is leading the way in the RPG community." I'm like, "No, they are not. They are followers. Like, they are deep followers, right?" And then when something is popular enough that it grows enough, like safety tools, then they'll reluctantly put it into a book. But they are not the one out in front.
Probably in any industry, I reckon if you looked at, I mean, I'm not an expert, like the automotive industry or any industry, I reckon you would probably find the most innovation is happening with smaller companies.
Yeah, right.
And the big dogs are are much slower to react, and for good reasons. You know, it's not like they should be experimenting constantly.
Yeah, I don't necessarily hold it against Wizards that's the case, right? Like, I think, as you said, like in the times where they tried, I mean, I think, not to get into I already made the OSR people mad, but fourth edition, one of the big things, and Rob Hainstow, the lead designer of fourth edition, said like their orders from Wizards was, we need to make a new version of D&D that's going to resonate with people who are playing games like World of Warcraft. So they went in a very different direction, and it did alienate a lot of their old users, right? So that's an example, for good or ill. Like, a lot of people still love 4E, but
and that was a criticism of the game that was often levied, which is this game feels like playing World of Warcraft. It's like, yes.
Yeah, it
yes,
wasn't.
No,
I mean,
that was the
according to
point.
Rob, they didn't. Rob didn't actually play World of Warcraft. So a lot of the things that are in it, seem similar, but weren't specifically designed around Warcraft things.
Yeah. But it's like it's a concept.
Sure.
Yeah. I didn't hate 4E. I mean, I didn't spend much time with it, to be fair, but I didn't hate it.
I spent a lot of time, and I was happy to move on. And I like the successor to 4E, which is 13th Age, right? Made by Rob Hainstow, without the bounds of a big publicly traded company sitting on top of him, along with Jonathan Sweet, the lead designer for third edition, and it's a fantastic game, right?
I'm actually doing because my life is not complicated enough, Mike. I'm actually running Stars for Outnumbered 1 week and 13th Age in the other week, just on a rotating basis. And because
great, isn't it?
It's a good game to do for that, because Stars for Outnumbered, it's a big sandbox. You do the creation, you set. 13th Age, it's like, if you need inspiration, you roll the icon dice and see what happens.
I'm waiting for the physical books, and then I'm going to run it on 13th Age. Like there's a new 13th Age Rev 2. And and I'm waiting to get the physical versions of those books, but then I'll probably run it for one of my groups.
Well, this is actually part of my plot, which is to get them invested in the 13th Age and say, but we have a new edition.
What's the status of the new edition of 13? Because they had
PDFs are out. Yeah, so the book is done. The PDFs are out. I think it's in printing, right? So it should be, I don't know, sometime in the future we'll receive the books. Pelgrane's great, and I love them. They were a little long on their development times for books and for Kickstarters. I think 13th Age, the Glorantha version of 13th Age was like a 6-year, like a 6-year book. It's forever.
Okay.
But I haven't really dug in deep again, because like I'm not, when I have the physical books, I'll be more invested in it. But
if I was
I'm excited
producing
for
a book
13th
and
Age.
it was in its 6th year since the Kickstarter, I would be tearing my hair out.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know how I could cope with that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, Into the Motherlands is pretty much in that sort of development hell, and I think the 3rd edition of Exalted, that was a long time coming. But and I think that can be a problem, because you sort of run out of or sort of like something catches people's interest, and by the time, if you wait too long, then they just sort of have moved on, like emotionally. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Talking of Kickstarters, incidentally, since we started talking about Kickstarters, I was going to move us on to the Forgotten Realms book next, but let's make people wait a bit longer for the Forgotten Realms and stick with Kickstarters for the moment, because there's a couple of Kickstarter bits of news, which is quite interesting. So let's hit those quickly. So the first one is the Gygax Memorial Table. Now this is interesting, because last week when we talked about this, or 2 weeks ago,
they were really struggling. Hugely ambitious goal.
It was trending towards $50,000, $53,000, I think it was, and it has a goal of $150,000. It just wasn't going to make it. Sadly, it was not going to make it. But there's been a bit of a turnaround this week. It's coming in. I think it's literally finishing about now. In fact, because when I looked this morning, it said 4 hours, so it could be finishing about now, any minute now, or something like that. But this is fun. So this is what's happened. There's been a sudden, and I've never seen a Kickstarter graph look like this.
Wow.
There is a
That's quite a leap.
massive
Wow.
increase in the final few days. And this never happens. This never happens.
Yeah.
This is so unusual, so unusual. And I was like, what's going on? How is this even possible? And why don't my Kickstarters do that?
Do you know?
I have looked into it, yes. I have looked into it.
Because I have a hypothesis. I have a hypothesis that I'd like
Oh,
to
what's your hypothesis?
I will give my hypothesis, and then you can tell me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
That at least one or two individual members put a lot of money towards it, including somebody that might be connected to the project, in order to get the funding over the goal, so that they get the rest of the money.
Sure. So you are basically correct. So 7.
Hey, nailed
The
it.
maximum you can put in is $10,000 on a Kickstarter. You can't put in more than $10,000.
I didn't know that.
So it took 7 of them, and I think I have this is the daily. So you can see, like a few days ago, it just suddenly started to take off.
Oh yeah, and they have 8 of those.
8 of them now. So if you have a look at that, there's 8 there. And that little picture there, you can see 2 of the backers there, the tiny little avatars. I recognise that one. That is Peter Atkinson. That is the founder of Wizards of the Coast, who obviously sold Wizards of the Coast back in 2002 Hasbro.
Or
so
large sums of money.
$10,000. And so have 7 other people. We don't know who they are. I can't make out who that other little avatar is. So at the last minute, 8 people suddenly threw in $10,000, and it's pushed it over the edge. It's just made it.
Yeah.
It squeaked over the $150,000 target, and he's.
Oh, it's 195 now. So
Wow.
Excellent. Okay. Right.
Yeah, it's
So
more
gone,
than
it's
the-
gone way
yeah.
over.
Yeah. Does that mean they've met some of their stretch goals? That would be a bit more than a table and a couple of benches.
I don't think so. No, I think the next stretch goal was considerably higher than that.
Right.
Because the stretch goals went up to $1 million, didn't they? Just under $1 million for the full, the whole. If I flick back to the picture of the final thing, which was
Because the picture for those listening at home is a table with some benches by the side of it, and it's got looks like a little battle map on top, and there is I presume a bronze cast on top and a bronze figure of Gary Gygax sitting on a throne, presumably running the game.
Yeah,
But that was be for the full stretch goals.
That was like $950,000, I think.
Wow.
So basically, for 150, it was literally the table and the benches. There would be no bronze map on top of it, no throne, no statue. It was literally just the table and the benches.
I mean, it's a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. It is a lot of money.
No.
Oh, well, they've made it. We'll get the table and the benches. Not that, I didn't see it because, it's 3,000, 4,000 miles away from me.
No, you can see pictures. It's fine.
I can see pictures of it. Yeah. Well, congratulations to them. Good on them. I mean, I don't know why it was that 7 people just swooped in at the last minute. Maybe they were just holding off to see. I don't know. Or maybe the people running the campaign were courting those 7 people.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would do, right? Is like go specifically to the big whales that are out there who have a big connection to this, and say, maybe offer them something that's outside of the Kickstarter in order to do it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, we'll see when we get the final thing. We'll find that instead of a statue of Gary Gygax, there's a statue of Peter Atkinson there.
Yeah, Peter Atkinson.
Yeah. That's how they did it. No, I doubt that very much. But I'm happy with them. I'm glad they managed to do it. It caught me by surprise. I was not expecting them to do that. It really, really did not look like they were going to make it. But hey,
Okay.
and I've never seen a Kickstarter graph looking like that.
I mean, if people drop people are always welcome to drop $80,000 into any of my Kickstarters.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Very welcome.
I don't know. Just, it depends on what they want for the money.
I mean, $80,000. It's negotiable.
I would rather not. Yeah.
They want something.
You see, if it had been just like one person suddenly showed up towards the last minute and dropped in a massive load of money, I could see that. It's just like 7, 8 of them did.
Yeah.
It's all at the same time, and it's like, wow, okay, didn't see that coming.
Amazing.
Like one person, can come in and cut, screw the graph up and make it an unusual graph, but oh well, good on them.
Yeah.
Talking of successful Kickstarters, we've got 2 new members, the $1 Million Kickstarter Club.
Ooh.
And those 2 members are WotC, which is Eldritch High C D&D 5e supplement, which squeaked in. It's 1,068,001. $1,068,001.
Is it 68,000?
It is $68,001. Yeah.
Because on your pitch you've got 60,000.
Yes, I've clearly mistyped. It's
That's right.
68,000.
No worries. $68,692. Good for them.
Yeah. So this one was by the project creator is WotC.
Yes.
It's the first one too.
It kind of is, but basically that's a placeholder name for a team up between 3 different pre-existing project creators, and those are Loot Tavern, who they've already had a couple of $1 Million Kickstarters. They're not new to this game at all. And who are the other 2? Let me have a quick look. I had it in front of me 2 seconds ago, and I clicked away from it. Just careless. Archvillain Games. And Titan Forge. So those last 2 haven't had a $1 Million Kickstarter, but Luke Tavern's been involved with a couple until now. But
well,
this is
certainly they filled my feeds with advertising, so that was money well spent.
yeah. Well, I assume they use the backer kit advertising thing, which most people use.
Maybe, yeah.
I assume.
Well, they have a very good. They have a very good average pledge of $200.
I know.
That's the
aggressive.
They've got dice and they've got
and STL files and all kinds of
all
stuff.
sorts of things.
As
me and Jess have said many times, when we thought, should we do all that stuff and try and go for a really, really big Kickstarter? Because that is the way to get a big Kickstarter. You've got to have all that add-on stuff, and you've got to get that average pledge level.
Yep.
I think on my $1 Million Kickstarter Club page, where I track all of this, for a $1 Million Kickstarter, the average pledge level is, let me just quick look, $115.
Yeah.
If you look at all the 48 $1 Million Kickstarters. That I calculated quite a while ago. I think it may have gone up a bit since then, because we've had a couple of really big ones that have really, really expensive pledge levels. And this is one of them. But if you want those big ones, you've got to have the miniatures. You've got to have the dice bags and the dice trays, and you've got to have the t-shirts and the hats and the pins and the badges and you've got to have all that stuff. But you've got to then produce all that stuff.
Yes.
Which isn't all going to be produced in one place, like if it was just books. It's going to be produced in different places. You've got to bring all that stuff together and coordinate it. You've got to get someone doing logistics to do all of that. All of that stuff is not tariff exempt. Or duty exempt or tax exempt because it's not books. And if you're importing those into the US, which you probably are, I mean, you might not. You might be making all of that stuff in the US, but I'm going to guess that you're probably not. And plushies and bags and satchels, all the stuff that you do. All of that is going to be hit by probably China level tariffs. It's probably made in China. Maybe not. I don't know. But it's going to be hit by. It's going to be I wouldn't want to be doing the logistics to fulfill a Kickstarter like that at the moment at all. It takes a braver person than me to tackle that.
I feel there's like a lot of scope on the micro creator end of things, where you have like someone who makes TTRPGs and someone who makes stuff for TTRPGs to work together and actually produce a Kickstarter where they tap into both their audiences, people who like TTRPGs from a creator and people who likes buying stuff, getting together, and then there's a lot of
the Roll for Combat in the chat says these minis are going to cost a huge amount to produce, and then the tariffs I can't. It's basically what I just said. But I wouldn't want to do it. And also, I don't know what the profit, what the margins are on those sort of Kickstarters, because I've never really tried to do it because It's a hideous looking task.
But
But the other one,
with minis and stuff in plastic, a lot of it's like the initial setup, so you do have to have that huge, like sort of front end investment to make it worthwhile. But once you've got them, then your individual cost per unit is very low.
it's
So that's
not
very
that
good.
big, the front end. So if you're looking at a $1
Okay.
million Kickstarter, like you're talking a few thousand. But out of $1 million Kickstarter, it's not to get the molds done, which is the costly bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
It's, if you've got a $10,000 Kickstarter, yeah, it's expensive. If you've got a $1 million Kickstarter, it's pittance, it's pennies to you.
Yeah.
But it's adding all this stuff together, and then the tariffs and just the shipping. I mean, I'm trying to think. We imported Void Runners Codex into Australia, the UK, and the US, and that is a big, heavy box with a lot of stuff in it, which is why I'm using that as the example, as a point of comparison, because these sort of things will be fairly sizable chunks. It's going to be quite heavy. The shipping cost is going to be a bit, and the shipping cost is just stupendous. I mean, you're paying to ship it from the manufacturer to port, and then from port to your warehouses, wherever they are, pay tariffs or customs at the point of entry. Then you are paying to ship them individually out to the individual customers from your from your distribution hubs in whichever regions you're doing that from. The money just mounts up. It's so much money. It really is. And it's not fun. It's not fun at all. But anyway, by the way, the other one is the Fabula Ultima TTRPG. It's the sort of Japanese role-playing game inspired, kind of Final Fantasy inspired.
So JRPG tabletop.
Yeah.
I thought it was out already, to be honest. I didn't realize
this is like a sort of Ultimate Premium Edition with a new bestiary in it as well.
Okay, right.
So you can pick it up already, but that's
so they're doing sort of a mothership thing where they sort of released it, got loads of people playing it, and then they do a Kickstarter to get even more people playing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, this is like a collector's edition, I guess. Because the full rules are out.
A celebration edition, it says. How exciting!
Yeah. And that made 1.6 million.
Nice.
It was pretty good going. So that is 2 more of these $1 million Kickstarters. Which means, if you look at my graph, $1 million tabletop RPG crowdfunding campaigns over the years, you can see that 2025, the first half of 2025, I thought was a massive drop. I thought we weren't gonna see many at all, but it looks like, and we've still got 2 months left of the year. It looks like it's gonna edge out maybe 2024, because Free League will have another big one. They always have one towards the end of the year, without fail. So I reckon we're gonna have 8 or 9 this year as well.
It's a little bit of a small data problem, right? Because like you're talking about 10, 11, 7, 8. Like it only takes 1 or 2 to skew your whole result. So
sure.
It's interesting. Now it still does follow a curve. I mean, obviously 2016 to 2020, doesn't fit this same model where COVID times were really good for the RPG industry.
Yeah.
Right. And then
2021,
post COVID times have not been as good for the RPG industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2021 when there were $11 million tabletop RPG crowdfunders.
Yeah.
After it's changed from lockdown to non-lockdown, that's been a huge change.
And I mean, like almost every publisher, big and small, that I talk to that's willing to share any kind of numbers at all, says it's about a 30% drop in revenue since COVID times, and I experienced that myself.
I wouldn't say it's all due to COVID. I think there's other factors involved as well. Like especially if you're in the 5e producing market, I think 2024 was a hit. Both from the production point of view and from just customers just being careful, because they were like, oh, there's a new edition of D&D coming out soon. I'm going to wait and see what that's like before I buy anything, because I don't know whether what I buy will be compatible. B, my gaming budget is only X. What am I going to buy this year? Well, I'm going to buy those big 3 hardcovers from Wizards.
Right.
You know, so those are two other big factors, especially for those making 5e stuff, where you know we've noticed a drop.
Yep.
So we attribute to those three things really. The OGL thing affected it a bit too, but
not as much.
Not as much. Yeah. So 4 things then. Those 4 things. This is a bit like Spanish Inquisition. 5 things. No.
Yeah.
So what's that? That's about 20, 30 Kickstarters. Are the majority of them D&D?
You should look at my $1 million
right.
Kickstarter page.
Done a breakout.
Stats.
Maybe I will.
Stats. So, okay, let me tell you. So, there have been 48 in total.
Yes.
$1 million Kickstarters. 26 of those included minis. Miniatures. 43 of the 48 included additional merchandise, pins, t-shirts, dice trays, that sort of thing. 37 of the 48 included dice. Of the 48, only 2 did not include miniatures, dice, or merchandise, additional merchandise. 2 ever have done that. And I think that was Shadow Dark and Coyote and Crow are the only 2 that have ever done that, without including any of that extra stuff. Nobody else has ever done
Impressive.
that. Of the 48, 27 are D&D 5e related. However, it's worth noting that the top 4 are non-D&D. So the top 4 are Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere RPG,
which tapped into a considerable existing audience. I think I was comparing it to various militias and armies in the world. Avatar Legends, well known to those of us who will look at cartoons.
The Gloomhaven Grand Festival,
which I still say was like a reprint for a board game with like a little TTRPG tacked on the top with a bit of sellotape,
It was quite a hefty RPG, but okay. And also the MCDM RPG. So those 4 are the top 4, and none of those are D&D. So while the majority are D&D 5e related, the majority of $1 million ones are, the top 4 are not.
Yes.
11 of the 48 are based on an existing IP, not counting D&D. That would be like a movie, a book, an older game edition, or something like that. Only out of the 48, only 4 of them are completely original properties. Like they're either not 5e or they're not based on an existing IP. Only 4 of them. And that's the telling thing. Only 2 don't include minis, dice, or merchandising, and only 4 of them are original properties. So what that is saying is, to do a $1 million Kickstarter, you need the miniatures, the dice, the merchandising, and it needs to be 5e or an existing IP.
Interesting.
Or you need to get very lucky. I mean, it is possible, but you need to get very lucky.
And 5e isn't that actually that strong a predictor, has some of those other things you mentioned, like having the physical merchandise does really boost those pledge levels.
It pushes the average pledge level up. That's what that does. And what you need is a high average pledge level if you want to make $1 million. You need to be sort of
one of the
$50 plus.
Right, and that's because trying to get the good return on ad spend for paid advertisement, you have to have a product where you're making like $100 to $200. Because if you're at $50, you're just not going to get the same.
No, you can't.
Facebook has learned how to keep squeezing every dime out of ad revenue, and they have made it where now the only way that you're going to actually make money on the ads that they post is if your average pledge is, over $100.
Wow. Got that.
Yeah.
It's my experience. Like that,
No, that's legit, man.
The majority of our Kickstarters, the average pledge level is probably one hardcover book. It's probably the average. So you're talking $50 to $60 ish. Maybe a little higher with add-ons and stuff. But the add-ons are books as well. They're not dice, t-shirts, they're not anything like that. So when you're doing something like that, there's just no way you're going to make $1 million. Well, I say that 2 people did. Shadow Dark and Coyote and Crow. So it is possible. It's just very, very unlikely.
Which are also not D&D, not existing intellectual properties.
D&D-ish, but yeah.
Yeah, all right then. I can see it. It's not 5e D&D, which is what we were specifying previously, but yeah.
The other statistic was the average campaign does, at the time when I did this, it was 26% of its funding in the first day. It's a little higher now. It's closer to 30%. So basically, you can look at a campaign after its first full day, and by that I mean the first day that tracks. Because, with time zones and stuff, the first day could be just like 3 hours if you're in the wrong time zone. But the first full day that tracks, and multiply that by 3, you can probably, that's the region you're going to get. And that pretty much holds pretty consistently. The only thing that breaks that is when people do early bird stuff, which massively front loads a campaign. And what you'll find is they might have up to 50% of their pledges are going to be in the first day. Or when they do those, so they've got the early bird stuff in that there's some rewards that are cheaper if you come in earlier. Also, you get the early bird stuff, whereas if someone comes in early in the first 48 hours or whatever, first 24 hours, they'll get a free miniature or they get a free whatever. That really stacks it towards the front as well. But most campaigns, without that early bird stuff, basically 30% is what you're going to do in your first full day. And that's pretty consistent. The stats just don't really deviate from it.
Yep.
Right.
I've always found that when we're predicting our own Kickstarters, I have a whole spreadsheet of every single Kickstarter that we've run, and I put in the number of pre-launch followers we got just before we launch, so we know what that is. I'll put in what we expect our average pledge level to be, and I track what we do on the first hour, the first day, the first 48 hours, that sort of thing. And basically, after the first day, I can tell you where our Kickstarter is going to end. Pretty much pretty accurately.
Nice.
Much more accurately than KickTrack does, or Backatrack, or any of those things do, that just give you these wild numbers. I can just look at it and go, well, I can tell you that's going to do 80 grand right now. I know.
Solid.
Yeah. Anyway.
Let's talk about those forgotten realms.
Ah.
And I said, let's talk about it. What I mean is Mike's going to talk about it.
Sure.
Because Mike has the books, whereas we do not.
I do.
What I do have before we start, though, is a quick glance at the table of contents, which was posted online. And we do have a first impressions review from Christian Hoffer up on EN World as well, which you can take a look at. But I guess the table of contents is exactly what you've got in front of you there as well, Mike.
I do.
yeah. So where should we start? So we've got 2 books. You mentioned to me before we started that you've paid less attention to this sort of player options side of things.
Yeah, I didn't dig into like the subclasses and spells and sort of the mechanic-y bits. I was more interested in how much lore and general coverage of the Forgotten Realms that it had.
Okay.
They have.
So you, just for a context point of view, are you historically a Forgotten Realms fan? Are you someone who knows a lot about the Forgotten Realms? Because not at all. I would intersected with it.
I definitely would define myself as a fan of the Forgotten Realms.
Okay.
I would certainly not say that I am deep into the total knowledge of the realms. Like, I mean, I've been playing in the realms for 30 some years, right? My first campaign when I was 14 was in the Forgotten Realms and with the old gray box. But, I'm not a detail oriented person in general. So like, there's lots of little specific things that I miss from time to time. But I love all that lore.
Yeah. I mean, my background is I've never played in the Forgotten Realms. Maybe once or something that I don't remember. I've got a couple of Forgotten Realms books, but it's never. I was always a Dragonlance fan as a kid. That was always my go-to setting. And then after that, I was always a homebrew guy. So when it comes to published setting, by osmosis, I kind of know a certain amount about the Forgotten Realms, but I've never gone out of my way to delve into it in any way.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the problems of the realms that many people bring up, even to the point where it is addressed in these books, which is you want to GM the realms, but you don't feel like you know enough about it. And or one of your players knows more about it than you do. And both
that is almost certainly going to be the case. Yeah.
That is something they directly address in these books.
Okay.
Like it's a situation that they bring up, and they give the common advice that you would expect to hear, which is it's your world. You can make what you want of it. So if you don't know any details, you can fill in your details. And if you have somebody who knows more about the realms, you can tell them, the realms we're playing here is our realms, not necessarily the realms that you know. And I'd like to tap into your knowledge for things that I might not know. And you know, those are very common refrains for the what do you do when you want to play in a setting where you don't know it particularly well. And you might have a player who knows it better than you. Those you know, that's about as good as you're going to get. And then the rest depends on your player and how well you can work with them and not go that, you know, not constantly get that. Well, actually, that's not.
Yeah, I mean that depends very much on the nature of the player, doesn't it?
Yeah, was in a different state. They have you know, Gonf Bayenre was a different archmage.
Yeah. Well, I suppose from our points of view, that is like a little bit of a problem. I guess from the player's point of view, they're like, well, why are you saying your game's Forgotten Realms if you're not going to use the Forgotten Realms lore?
Right. Yeah.
That's correct.
So anyway, let's take a look at these books then. So Mike, what's your sort of like overall quick sort of takeaway?
I have a good. My overall takeaway is they're really good. For one, I like them a lot. They're also really expensive for what you get. If you recall, and I can dive into both. Dive into both of them, but the expense one is a consideration because if you recall, a year or so ago, maybe a little bit more than a year, they said, hey, because of lots of things going on in the industry, we're going to have to increase the price, the standard price of one of our hardcover books from $50 to $60. Right? That happened about a year ago. And then, of course, what was interesting is the core books came out and they were $50. They actually they kept them low, but even though the page counts on those books are much higher. So this one you could say, okay, well, one of these books is $50 and the other one is $60. So it's $110 for the total set. My feeling is both of these books together are one book. Right? They feel like one book.
Are they very light? Do you mean?
No, they're big. I mean, page. So this is the interesting thing. Page count wise, they're getting close to 500 pages.
Wow.
Word count wise, they're about the same as like Eberron Rising from the Last War as a single volume, and they have fewer words than the original campaign setting guide from 3rd edition D&D. So, and that book, if you increase the price of that book to inflation, with inflation is about $72 or $73 today for the amount of total words that you're getting. That means these books aren't 20% more expensive. They're actually 100% more expensive.
Who's this? Some Jessica.
Yeah, we've got some. We've been raided by some random trolls.
Who is this? Who is this person?
What
asking questions about Baldur's Gate 3.
Right.
Coming in from Facebook.
This is really interesting. It's too bad Jessica's not on the show because I would have this would be a contention of debate, which is, oh my God, Baldur's Gate again? How many times are you gonna make me buy Baldur's Gate? Right?
Well,
obviously there are some people who are like, I want to know how much Baldur's Gate 3 stuff is in there because that's what I really care about.
Well, Baldur's Gate 3 has turned into a drinking game here now. Every time Jessica mentions Baldur's Gate 3, someone has to take a drink.
The answer to her question is yes, there are references. There are additional references on the cover. There's a good picture of Gortash, one of the 3 villains. Spoiler, Baldur's Gate 3 spoiler. One of the villains in the video game is Gortash, and there's a really cool piece of artwork of Gortash in it. What's interesting is all of the, since we're on that, we'll jump to that one piece. So there's 5 main focus regions covered in the Adventures in Faerun book. One of which is Baldur's Gate. And one of which is Icewind Dale. And those, when I heard about them, they bothered me because I'm like, oh my God, I literally bought 2 other Icewind Dale products in the last 10 years. Legacy of the Crystal Shard and Rime of the Frost Maiden. I've already played 3 full campaigns in Icewind Dale.
Wow.
In the last 10 years. I don't need more Icewind Dale stuff. I want Thay. Where's Thay? Right? Thay hasn't been touched in 2nd edition, and it's a
I assume the whole book is
out loud.
Yeah.
I assume it's all Sword Coast focused as usual, is it?
No,
okay.
That's very interesting. There's a heavy focus on the Sword Coast. Yes. But then this is where I go, like, also, I think it is inaccurate to say that this book, by the way, the covers are beautiful. I got the special edition covers at my local game shop, and they're beautiful. So there's a Heroes of Faerun book, and there's an Adventures in Faerun book.
Yeah.
And it says on them, Dungeon Master expansion and player expansion. I think that's not accurate. These are both Dungeon Master books.
Okay.
It happens to be that the player one has character options in it, but that one has an atlas of all of the realms, not just those 5 focus regions. And it's 80 pages long. There's an 80-page section of this book that covers every area of the Forgotten Realms, right? So that makes this book more of an overall gazetteer of the Forgotten Realms than the other book, which is the GM book, right? Which gives me this, like, these 2 books together are one volume. And if you're a GM who wants this, I can't imagine not buying both. And I can't imagine they're thinking a GM isn't going to buy both, right? They feel like one book. Another weird one, which I mentioned while we were on break, the Heroes book is the one that includes the map. There's a tear out for entire giant Forgotten Realms map, new Mike Shea Forgotten Realms map. And that's not in the GM guide. That's in the player guide.
That's an odd choice.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
that's weird.
I mean, I love having maps as a player, but I would say I need them as a GM.
Yes. So if you're going to be
in the Forgotten Realms as a setting, would the average person who lives there be aware of the geography of the entire?
I seriously doubt it. It depends on where you go. If you go to Waterdeep talking to a sage, probably. But if you're talking about like a farmer outside of Phandalin, I wouldn't think so. Right?
No, I suppose not.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah. Anyway, I think they're really, really good, but I do think that the cost, especially in today's, turbulent economic times, is something to consider. Because you're paying $110, in my opinion, for one volume. It's a big, thick volume with a lot of stuff covered. But that's high. So you asked for my top ones. The other one is I would not buy these books if you are not a Realms fan, and if you plan on running a game in the Realms, right? Like I think, and particularly running a game in one of those 5 regions. Like I look at it and say, I would totally run a campaign in the Cormyr, or I'm sorry, in the Dalelands, right? Like Dalelands is one of the areas. It has been, again, 35 years since I played a game in the Dalelands, and they have a nice, big, juicy section of the Dalelands in there with lots of cool stuff. I think it would be totally worth it to pick these up, to have new character options that are Forgotten Realms based, have a lot of focus material on the realms in general, gods, daily life, calendars, holidays, all the kind of things that you need to fill in the details, and then zero down into things that are going on around the various various towns and villages of the Dalelands, plus Myth Draenor as their big kind of adventure zone area. There's one long adventure and 50 small adventures in this.
Wow.
And the one long adventure, they say you can put near any of the regions, but it was clearly meant to be dropped in the Dalelands area. So that feels like, if you remember, like the Eberron Rising from the Last War book had a huge thing on Sharn. Right? And the idea was like, if you're going to run an Eberron campaign, you could do worse than to start in Sharn and then expand out from there. This one also feels like you could do a lot worse than starting in the Dalelands and expanding out from there.
Yeah. I mean, looking at because I've got the table of contents in front of me. So looking at Adventures in Faerun. So we've got the areas it covers are the Dalelands.
Yep.
Icewind Dale.
Yep.
What else have we got? We got Kalimshan.
Yep.
The Moonshae Isles.
Yep.
Baldur's Gate.
That's it. Yep.
And
those are the 5. Yeah, those are the 5.
And then we've got the Adventures. Yeah.
The Adventures Library of Lekka something or other.
Leftontas. I don't know.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and so those sections, if you look at, like, I was really curious because for me it was like, well, I want deep Forgotten Realms lore is what I'm really looking for, and so I was like, how much of these books are giving me deep Forgotten Realms lore? And it's a lot, right? Each of those sections run between 30. I think Moonshae is 29 pages, Dalelands is 45 pages. 38 pages for Icewind Dale, 32 pages for Kalimshan, 35 pages for Baldur's Gate. And so my complaints were like, I already bought Icewind Dale, and you're making me buy Icewind Dale again. And I've already got, I got Baldur's Gate coming out of my ears. I really don't need more Baldur. There's nothing forgotten about Baldur's Gate in this Forgotten Realms book, right? However, what's interesting is they did kind of, I didn't look quite as deep on the Baldur's Gate, but in the Icewind Dale, they already wrote around the premise that the events of both Legacy of the Crystal Shard and Rime of the Frostmaiden have already taken place. So now we have the expanded area. And the other interesting thing is it wasn't so much on just focusing on a region, it was also focusing on a theme. So kind of your survivalist horror of the Dalelands, or I'm sorry, the survivalist horror of Icewind Dale versus your more traditional European fantasy of the Dalelands versus your kind of urban intrigue of Baldur's Gate, you know, kind of focus on the Fae and fairies and the Moonshae. And sort of, you know, Eastern and genie kind of stuff going on in Kalimshan. Kalimshan, I haven't really read that area thoroughly either.
Okay.
But yeah, and a lot. And then if you look at the Heroes book, this is where I think like why it's kind of mislabeled as a player guide. There are 48 pages. I said 80 pages, but that's close. There are 48 pages for the Guide to the Realms, right? Which is that describes every region of the realms. The Gods of the Realms is 33 pages. The Factions is 39 pages, right? So that's a lot of page count focusing on lore, which is great for me because that's what I want. Right? I want to have lots of information and lots of lore, and there is sort of a player focus on that, right? But some people brought up that there's actually spoilers to things. So like they talk about, I think they talk about Phandalin, and they spoil the Phandelver and Below hardcover adventure, right? Like they say like what's the big thing going on there, and they just tell you, right? And you're like, well, there was like 3 chapters of that book. Here. So yeah, a lot covered. 38 pages of monsters, 5 pages of magic items, character options. So here's the character options is 32 pages. So the whole idea of like, hey, we have new subclasses, we have new feats, we have new backgrounds. That only takes 32 pages. The magic spells are 11 pages, right?
I mean, we've got equipment as well, I suppose, and the circle casting rules. I guess are player-facing rules.
That is right, but it's still not a lot, right? It's pages,
equipment, whatever. So, like, in terms of what you want to see in a book, it feels like this is a really pleasing and positive book for you. Lots of lore to help you to really have these settings fleshed out for you. Whereas myself, I don't like other people's lore. I'd rather make it my
then
own.
Don't buy it.
I'm really getting that vibe.
I've had people who were like, well, could I steal stuff from this? Like, yeah, but not for $110.
No,
right? Like, you can go make your own stuff up. Like, I don't, the idea of like this to me, there are other, I mean, like I'll pick my own book, right? I wrote a book called City of Arches, and which doesn't cost $110. And City of Arches is literally designed for you to be able to drop into your own campaign. Like you can put it in the Forgotten Realms, you can put it in Eberron, you can put it your home campaign, wherever you want to put it. And it was designed to be kind of stripped for parts like that. This one's so in depth and so could you? Of course you can. Like you can take the monsters and put them in anything. Is it worth $110 to buy this just to strip it for parts for a home campaign? I would argue no. I really think like that's why I say like if you don't, it's really simple. If you don't like the Forgotten Realms, don't buy it. Right? Like,
I mean,
not the book for you. And
I mean,
if you
that's
don't really plan on
bombshell.
Running campaigns in there, if you really like the realms and you just want to live in the realms and read about that stuff and you enjoy it, then sure, like pick them up. But to me, it's like not. For me, the argument that I would make is A, you have to like the realms. B, you plan on running a campaign there, and C, you plan on running a campaign in one of the regions that it focuses on, at least once. And if you're doing those, then I think you get a lot of value out of these books. And if you want to run realm stuff, this is my other argument. If you want to run realm stuff, and you're like, I don't know about all this, and I don't like the regions, and the freaking 3rd edition Forgotten Realms campaign guide is $16 on DM's Guild, right? It's dirt cheap, and it has more. It's like 80,000 words bigger, right? Than both of these books put together. So it's got a ton of material in it. So if you just want to kind of dive into the realms and you don't want to spend $110, like that old book is really, really good. And that's kind of the gold standard. I mean, lots of people say the old gray box set, which you can also buy in the DM's Guild. That's good. Those are really good too. But I feel like if you want to just kind of soak in realms lore or find stuff that you can strip for parts, it's hard to beat $16 versus $110.
Yeah. So this is basically. You need to be a Realms fan to buy this. Is what
I would say so. Yeah. Or if you're new to RPG, right? If you're new, like there's a ton of people that are I think the majority, right? The majority of 5e players have not had a Forgotten Realms release ever, right? For them. Like this is the first Forgotten Realms, like what was it? The Sword Coast book was one of the first books that came out, and the growth of 5e didn't happen until after that. So this might be the first real. I mean, obviously, there's been a bunch of adventures set there, and that explained a lot of the realms. But this is the first one. So if you're like, hey, and I think Christian Hoffer talked about this in his. I read his article earlier today, before we came on, and I think he mentioned this, that like one of the big kind of problems with the core books is that there was almost no flavor in them. Right. There was no setting. There was no real kind of description. There's no list of gods. Like I found that really bizarre, like no list of gods. And then he said, now it makes more sense if you look at these books and you're like, okay, that's the the mechanics, that's the scaffolding. And this is the paint, right? This is everything around it.
Okay.
And then because like, boy, I forget, there's 50 gods listed or something like that, right? So if you want gods, boy, you got.
So I was just looking at the list.
33 pages of gods. So,
so if you want to enjoy that full Dungeons and Dragons experience as a new player, all you have to do is drop $270 for the 3-4 books,
right. Like
and these 2 books here. Then,
it's starting to get pretty pricey. Yeah.
I mean,
$260, but yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I do beg your pardon, my mistake.
Right.
I look forward to seeing the Beetle and Grimm version.
Yeah, right. Like how is that gonna... I mean, so this is kind of interesting because one of the things I really love about role-playing games, one of the things I'm kind of fascinated by with role-playing games, is that you can have a cost of 0 or a cost of millions of dollars in this hobby, right? Yeah. I mentioned seeing that Forgotten Realms map. That place has millions of dollars worth of stuff in it. And if you look at the Critical Role studio, right, that is $1 million RPG studio, right? Like that, if you were like, hey, I'm going to stream a game at a nice place, that's $1 million studio. And then the other side is like, you can play with the SRD, right? You can play with free materials and go, as I like to say, go to the dog track and steal a pencil. And, you can play D&D for nothing.
But your only cost is basically one set of dice, basically.
Maybe, but there's online dice rollers you can get for free.
Or make spinners, man.
Go to your local game shop and crawl underneath the tables, and you'll find dice down there. They're questionable. They might have been there a while, right? You probably want to wash them and probably get a penicillin shot when you're done. But after you're done, you've got a nice set of dice. So I like that, but it feels like, certainly from Wizards, that the average price is moving up. Right now, the core books are not. The core books are the same price they were back in 2014. Yeah, even direct. So those books I feel like are actually a pretty good value because inflation certainly went up in the 10 years that those books came out. This one's feeling a little pricey, and like I had talked about, Eberron Rising from the Last War is kind of my gold standard 5e Wizards published source book. And I remember looking at that and being like, we're never going to see that value again, right? The font size was smaller, so there was more words in the overall book. Yeah. The book itself was $50 and it was 320 pages. And you're like, they're never doing that again, right? That was it. Like, you get that on Amazon for, I think there was a time where it was like $19 on Amazon. And I'm like, that is the best deal like you're going to get. So if you're, money matters to a lot of people these days. And that's why I'm kind of fixated on that. But now, if you happen to be in a good position where you can spend $110 on a source book, this is fantastic. Like I did, right? I went, Michelle, my wife and I ran to the local game shop yesterday and picked them up. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful books. The writing is good. The one thing I really look for is like how adventure oriented is the writing, which is something I'm not sure the older books do well. I don't know that the 3rd edition book does quite as good a job at this. Of like, if you're describing a location, I ought to be able to get a hook out of that I can then build an adventure around, or even maybe build a campaign on. And they've done a lot of that in here. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but they've many times I would look at it and be like, I could run an adventure based on that little prompt about that one little town right over here.
Yeah. I mean, which is something that 13th Age, to shout back to earlier in the podcast, that's something that they do extremely well. Like, they don't bind you to a canon. They offer you 8 to 13 different options, many of which are contradictory for each particular point they bring out, which it's absolutely fantastic, right? And it's just hooks galore, that book. Do you feel that there's like, I mean, obviously it's not going to be a similar amount of hooks, but are there good hooks in the source books?
There are a lot. So they really, and again, maybe, I mean, I'd have to like sit and look at them side by side, but I definitely feel like more so than older versions of the Forgotten Realms. This one, you know, in a few different ways have they make it like adventure oriented. This idea of like, I'm a GM, I'm a busy guy, I want to run games for my friends, give me material to help me run games for my friends. And there's kind of three things they've done with that. One of them is that idea that in all of the description, not all of them, but in many of the descriptions, you can kind of pick out a hook and be like, this is, I can grab that idea and I could build an adventure around it. And that's even in the regional guide, right? That's even in the player, the quote unquote player guide, where they have adventure-y sort of things. There's a little bit of occasion of a little bit of like, there are dangerous monsters in these woods. And I'm like, well, that's, you know, that's not a useful statement. What kind of dangerous monsters might you find in those woods? You know, I know there are dangerous monsters in my fantasy RPG. Tell me what it was. So there's a couple of instances of that. But then the second thing they do is these regional focuses, where they really deep dive into them, and the regions have things like, here's the kind of style of play that you could have here. Here are the bosses that you could have here. They have campaign arcs. You know, if you're running a campaign, this is the kind of arc that you could run for this campaign. So that's very oriented around, you know, GMs wanting to run adventures. And then they have, we were talking a little bit about innovation in RPG, you know, innovation at Wizards. And one of the things I would say, like, well, they're giving this a shot, and we'll see kind of how people dig it. If you remember in the Dungeon Master's Guide, they have these adventure scenarios that are like a half a page. They're like less than 500 words. And the intent is that there's enough stuff in there that a GM could grab it and run. They had 50 of those in there. So these are regional focused, they're faction focused, they're location focused, you know, they're kind of situation focused. So and they kind of tag them and describe them. They say what level they are, they say what kind they are. And then they have like really short adventures that, in my opinion, in reading a lot of them, many of them I feel like, yeah, this is enough. Like you're always going to have to add more to it. Your group is going to add more to it. But this is enough of a good scaffold for me to be able to build a session with my friends. Some of them are better than others, but I don't think that's a big surprise. And most of them have new maps, and the maps. So there's a lot of maps, and that's mostly in this, you know, the adventures when they call it that. Adventures in Faerun is accurate, right? Because there are lots and lots and lots of adventures in here. There's one chapter that's packed with about 30 of those adventures, and then the others are spread into the other sections. So if you go to the Daleland section, there's like 5 or 6 Daleland adventures, and they all have like a spread with like a map, and then you know they're like one page. And I think that is you know, I applaud it. I don't know how people are going to, you know, different groups are going to, or different GMs are going to grab onto those. Some are going to be like, are you kidding me? 400 words? How can you pack an adventure into 400 words? I need at least 32 pages, right? And but I look at them and I go, I think this is enough for me to get an idea of what I want. And there's so many that I can skip one and be like, yeah, I don't like that one. I'll just do another.
Yeah. You can download one of them for free as well from D&D Beyond. They put that out last week, I think it was. Right. And we talked about that last week. So if you want to get an idea of what those adventures look like, there's an example out there that you can go and take a look at.
Yeah. And there's a ton of maps, right? Like one thing is I think there's way more maps in here than I've ever seen in a campaign source book, because at least half of those adventures have a map associated with it. And then they do something kind of interesting, which I like, which is some of them don't have a map, but say you can use the map of the Wizard's Tower in the Dungeon Master's Guide, right? So they're like, we know you have the Dungeon Master's Guide. We have a bunch of maps in there. You can use one of those maps to fill in this. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, right? Like that's a way to get more value out of the other book.
Sensible cross-reference.
Yeah, okay. And I think, you know, so I'm a GM advice guy, right? That's kind of my shtick. And to me, that's teaching good lessons, because it's saying like, you know, these are loose frameworks for adventures, and you can go ahead and reuse those maps that you have in the DMG. And then like, oh, I could do that on my own too. And like, yes, you can, right? Like, so I think it's doing a little bit of subtle GM training in there too.
Nice.
And in a way that I think is effective, which is this, you know, like you don't need as much as you think you need in order to run an adventure, and you can reuse stuff like maps and kind of reskin them to fit the adventure that you've got. So I like that a lot.
You mentioned factions.
Yes.
Now I haven't read the 2024 DMG. Obviously, I haven't seen the Forgotten Realms books. But is there advice on how to run a faction?
Yes. In the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, or in this?
In either.
So I don't remember what the Dungeon Master's Guide says about factions. I know it. I know it does. I know it has stuff.
It's got
about
something
factions,
about it. Okay.
but it's not like it was in the 2014 books where it says, "Hey, here are 5 factions." Right? Like I think the old Dungeon Master's Guide had the Harpers and Order of the Gauntlet. They picked the Forgotten Realms factions, right? This one has a bunch of factions in it. I think it has, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
39
8. Yeah, so there are 8
factions,
major factions in here that are written as though your characters could come from these factions or work with these factions, even though they are the Red Wizards, the Zinterim, and the Cult of the Dragon. So it has 3 what I would consider to be evil factions that you could be parts of. And it's kind of funny. They have this cool table of like which factions get along with which other factions. And like, you know, the Red Wizard is like indifferent to 2 and hated by everybody else. Right? Like, so it's really kind of funny. And then in the faction section, they have 2 different things that tie back to the 2024 Dungeon Master's Guide, which is gaining renown. The idea that the more you do things that affect these factions, the more your reputation with the faction goes up. Yeah. And then you get stuff, right? Like things will happen. And they tied back into bastions. And there are both bastions. I think there are bastions that are associated with factions and also bastions that are focused on those regions. Like if you're in the Dalelands, hey, this area could end up becoming a bastion for you that you could then build out into other things. So they didn't just forget about those 2 new features of 2024 D&D. They have added that stuff in here. And I think I haven't really used bastions. They didn't grab me super hard when I read them originally because they didn't feel like they were solving the big problem I have, which is what should characters spend their money on.
Cash sink.
Yeah, and they're not a cash sink.
And some of them are cash generators.
Right. They actually generate
that is a
cash.
problem.
Like, now it's even worse. Also, like, you know, do we really want to turn our game into The Sims? But they have them here, and they, you know, I think like even if you're like, hey, I'm not going to use bastions directly, but I am going to have home bases. This still gives you an idea of like the kind of things that you could do with home bases. Yeah, and they all have symbols. So, and the gods do too, which I think is like another sort of table usable thing of like, here are all the gods. Here's the symbol of the god. So now I can describe that symbol on a wall, and then the players could learn. Like, you know, I could say like, you find a 6-pointed snowflake etched into the stone wall of this ancient freezing cavern, and you're like, that's Oral, right? That is a symbol of Oral, right?
It's bad news, dude.
That's really useful. Yeah.
Okay.
I know you haven't like delved into the players options so much, but I was looking at the table of contents here, and I noticed it has a species section, which is only 6 pages long. So I'm guessing section? The species, the character species section.
Yes.
So really I was just curious what I presume they haven't presented each one in full in there. In those 6 pages.
No, so the character species section, this is something I like, right? And one of the things, and I could be different. I know I'm different than other people, but one of the things I think about is like, if I'm dropping my $110 on these books, I'm kind of hoping that one day I'm sliding on my walker with the little tennis balls stuck on the end, and I can pull these off the shelf and still enjoy them and use them in my 12th edition D&D game, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm more interested in the stuff that I think is more timeless than like, here's a bunch of crunchy mechanics you're not going to use. And the reason why is because when I pull the 3rd edition Forgotten Realms guide and I see, hey, here's a page-long stat block for Elminster, I'm like, yeah, I'm not using that, right? Like, hey, I didn't use it back then because it was too complicated, and I'm sure not going to use it now. So one of the cool things this does with species is it describes what the role of the species is in the Forgotten Realms. So it's not like, here's a bunch of new species. It's like, here are what the Aasimar are like in the realms. Here are what Dragonborn are like in the realms, right? Here are elves, and it talks about sun and moon elves, which are unique to Forgotten Realms and what those mean. But it doesn't say like, here's a whole new set of mechanics for elves. Right?
So it just refers you back to the core rulebooks for the
stats. Its expectation is the core rulebook is where you're going to get the mechanics for elves, and instead, here's where they fit humans, right? A huge section on humans and orcs. And orcs are different, right? Because we never really had orc as a playable character race in a core book before. And this gets into like, you know, Obuld Many Arrows, right? The whole connection of the orcs in Forgotten Realms had a big focus on this guy, King Obuld Many Arrows, right? And so it talks about like what the orcs are like now. And so, in the race section, there is no there are no crunchy bits. It's all lore.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, maybe you're into that. Maybe you're like, oh, I really wanted new Sun Elf ancestry stuff.
Yeah.
I'm good with this, right? I'm all about like reskinning stuff, and to me, the flavor that we wrap around it, and I think like it makes it useful, because what if I want to play with Shadowdark, right? What if I like the Forgotten Realms, but I'm like, I'd like to have that classic second edition feel, and I'm going to use Shadowdark for it. Well, now I can use Shadowdark with this, and not worry that I wasted a bunch of money on a bunch of crunchy mechanics that I'm not going to use.
Yeah.
But when you get into subclasses, obviously, then you get into crunchy bits. But it's not a lot. They do have new backgrounds too, and the backgrounds are laid out the same way that they're laid out in the player's guide, kind of a big strip of art at the top, and then a very short, like 100-page background thing. And these have a lot of flavor. What's interesting is I like these so much better than I like the ones in the player's guide, because to me the player handbook, they were so boring. Right, guard, farmer. Right, these are not filling me with high fantasy feelings. Right, but now
they're not trying you into the world. Is what they're not doing with the fiction.
But I still feel like they could have been more flavorful than farmer. Right, like there's something more there, especially when farmer is the good one because it has toughness, and everybody wants toughness as a feat. But now it's Chondathian freebooter, dead magic dweller, Emerald Enclave caretaker, dragon cultist, ice fisher is kind of boring, harper, flaming fist mercenary. Right, these are very specific on your role, and I think that that really adds a lot of flavor to it.
Yeah, like I say, it ties you into the world as well, because your background is linked to a fiction element of the world rather than just farmer, which it doesn't. Yeah.
There's a bunch of new feats. I haven't looked into them. I always worry whenever there's new mechanics too, because it's like, oh God, is this going to break my game? Right? Is one of these things going to really do it? And I forget. I can't remember if it's in this book. If I saw one, I'm like, ooh, I'm going to have to nerf that right away. So, yeah. Yeah, really good.
Yeah. But it sounds like Wizards are really knocking out the park in terms of lore.
Yes.
And I suppose that's really good to hear. Because,
and same as always, the physical design of the book. Like, if I could just spend a minute talking about this and D&D Beyond, right? The physical design of the book is just gorgeous, right? Like big, full, and this is where like, the comparing it to the word count, right? This is where this is something you miss, like I miss when I'm just comparing word count, the art in this book is way bigger. You have giant, like 3/4 page, pictures of dragons, doing stuff. It's really, really good. The layout is really nice. The art is great. It's got tons and tons of little small maps. Again, this is in the player's guide, has the regional maps that show you like, Aglarond and Thay and Rashomon and, all these locations. Some of them, like there's the one called the Forgotten Lands, and you're like, I'm never reading that. Right, like the font size on the map is super small. It's also super small on the fold out map too. Right, it's really kind of hard to read some of these.
Yeah.
And they struggled. Right, like they were like, oh, how do we make that so it's still readable? But the physical, something I think is missed when people just go and buy it on D&D Beyond is how gorgeous these physical books are. Right, and like Wizards, all my complaints about it, the physical design is great, right? It really these are printed in America too, for anybody that's kind of interested in where they're printed. They're printed in the USA. I know that Wizards had recently moved to a US printer. I think they did that for the core books too, which can account for the price, right? The whole reason that's $110 for the two books. Like the printing in US printing is more expensive, certainly. There's the picture of Gortash for Jessica.
But what you've basically got there from a production value point of view is almost like coffee table books, because there's lots of art, there's lots of lore, there's lots of stuff to just sit there and browse through and read, rather than just being a rules reference manual.
It's also very table usable, right? Like that to me is the other shtick of like, so there's I spent some time kind of going through old Forgotten Realms books recently, because I was like, we're missing all these great, I was still mad about Icewind Dale and Baldur's Gate. And I was like, there's all these other books from 2nd edition, 3rd edition D&D that we could dive into, and they have all this lore, and they're like, they were good back then, so why aren't they good now? We can still focus a lot on them. I forgot my train of thought.
Well, I guess one final question, because I think we're coming up to 4:00 and we have to go into gooseberries and so forth.
Yeah.
Is you mentioned that there's 5 areas that it focuses on, and too much Baldur's Gate, too much Icewind Dale. You're all.
So when I say too much, I am personal. This is like a Mike Shea personal thing,
which
is like I really would have loved Fae, because like I feel like in the same way that the other regions have these sort of types of gameplay, I feel like the overarching dark magocracy and a ruler who is a necromancer where undead is part of the citizenry, like that feels so different from like other stuff that we've seen that, you know, I already got the survival horror of Icewind Dale. Rime of the Frost Maiden is still in print, and having another focus of an area that literally hasn't been touched, like there hasn't been a dedicated book about Fae since 2nd edition, like more than 30 years ago. So like that's what I wanted, because I feel like, look, I was a good wizard citizen. You put out Rime of the Frost Maiden and I played it. I played it for 2 groups. I hated it and I played it anyway.
I played it anyway.
Yeah. Right. I played it anyway because I'm a good.
That's not how gaming's supposed to work, Mike. You're doing it wrong.
Corporate citizen, right? I did what you told me to do. And
You ate
by
your
the way, I
vegetables,
also
okay.
did what you told me to do and ran Legacy of the Crystal Shard back at the tail end of 4th and early into 5th edition, right? That was one of my first 5th edition adventures. So I playing the games you're putting out, and now you're making me do it again, right? 3rd time. So that's where I'm like, I want newer stuff. But, you know, the argument is people know Icewind Dale. Everybody loves Drizzt. You know, they want it. I don't think I'm not sure that's true. I don't think people care about Icewind Dale nearly as much as they used to. Now, Baldur's Gate, absolutely. And I'm not going to argue that they shouldn't do Baldur's Gate. Fine. Yeah. I also think, like, you know what would have been more interesting? Do a Baldur's Gate book. Right? Do a source book about Baldur's Gate that says, here's how to play in the aftermath of what happened to Baldur's Gate.
Well, they should have done that when the video game came out.
Yeah. Right. And then they can't ever quite seem to nail. They did nail the Stranger Things box set. They managed to get that out on time.
True.
But generally coordinating a print activity is really, really challenging.
Well,
so I'll get over it.
NIOB's got a job. You know, it's like to make this sort of thing work.
Yeah. And the main thing for me is like, I just know that those are 2 sections of this book I am not going to want to use for like 5 years. Because I don't need to run another Baldur's Gate campaign. I already ran, Descent into Avernus, which I also didn't like. So I've already done Baldur's Gate, and
how many of these games do you not like, Mike? You seem to run a lot of games that you don't enjoy.
Those are the 2 big ones, right?
Okay.
I think it was Descent into Avernus was one, and Rime of the Frost Maiden was the other. And that's where I said I am no longer just going to run every Wizard's adventure that comes out. I am now going to decide whether I actually want to or not. And that's why I picked up like Vecna Eve of Ruin. And I'm like, I hate it, right? Like, I can't believe you have an adventure that's built upon betrayal from the very get-go. And then if they find out the truth, the whole adventure is over. So, I'm like, I'm not running that. Spoiler for anybody playing Vecna Eve of Ruin. But I don't mind spoiling it because I think it's such a vulnerable adventure. It deserves to be spoiled. So, other people are probably happy with it. And I do look, the stuff they've done with Icewind Dale by having a new villain or like kind of a new weird set of villains and tying it back to the old Crinchinaban Crystal Shard stuff made it cool enough that I'm like, I don't know that I want to run a campaign there, but I could see getting back into this again. And I could, the Baldur's Gate stuff is interesting enough that, Baldur's Gate is kind of a big deal. I'm glad they didn't do Waterdeep because we already have Waterdeep Dragon Heist. So they already made some kind of decisions about not replicating their stuff. I could see it, but to me, like, what makes it up for me is the big ass section on the Dalelands I'm excited about, right? And they obviously put a lot of effort into that section, and the adventure, the bigger adventure is set there, and there's a lot of small adventures, and I feel like I could definitely run a campaign. And then even when we get to that price of like the $110, that's pretty cheap for like 50 sessions of 6 people around a table. 3 hours a session, enjoying a good campaign. Like that's cheaper than movies. It's cheaper than video games. It's cheaper than novels. So, I think it's good. It was the D&D Beyond I was going to talk about. So both books are available on D&D Beyond as well. My recommendation would be to pick up the Heroes book, or my recommendation would be get your players to buy the Heroes book on D&D Beyond, because they're the ones that are going to get the value out of it for character options. And then as a GM, unless you're playing with maps, if you're going to play with maps or a VTT, it's probably worth picking up the Adventures book just for all the maps you get, right? Like there's a ton of digital maps that you're going to get with this on D&D Beyond. But if you're playing on any other kind of platform, I don't think you need to have the D&D Beyond version of Adventures in Faerun, because then you're still paying even more, right, on top of it. But I think the physical books are worth buying because A, you really own them, and B, they look really, really good.
Great optics of art, almost. Yeah. That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Mike. That's a really comprehensive review.
Yeah, happy.
So that's hitting general release on November the 1st. I've got in front of me. When's that?
Tomorrow.
Sunday. That can't be right. Tomorrow. That can't be right.
Saturday's tomorrow.
No, it can't be November the 1st. When does it hit general release?
I don't know.
No.
Because there's usually when did you pick that one up, Mike? Because it's usually 2 weeks in the hobby stores, and then it
came out
release,
on.
isn't it?
I think it came out Tuesday. So
right.
Tuesday was when it was up on D&D Beyond, and I think Tuesday was the first day stores could have it. My store didn't get it till Thursday, but I got it yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think it's 2 weeks from Tuesday.
Oh, I found it. The 11th, not the 1st. I found it. I don't know why I said the 1st. Yeah, November the 11th. So.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Because that'll be a Tuesday. Yeah. Right. I think it is just coming up to time now, so we're going to have to call it there.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Mike, for coming on. Always love having you on.
Yeah.
You're always welcome. You know that.
It's always a pleasure. Love doing it.
It's really good because it gives me a chance to relax. I don't have to talk so much as well. It's great.
Just have a chat with Mike. It's a good time for everyone. Yeah. Except possibly Mike, I don't know. As long as you enjoy coming on, Mike, we're always delighted to have you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Happy to be here.
Right. We're going to get out here. We're going to go and have Halloween now. I'm going to start preparing my costume for tonight. Go and find out how my wife's costume's coming on because she spent the last 2 hours. I can smell the glue and the paint from here. I think it might be quite toxic out there. I'm not sure it's safe. Luckily, I don't smoke, so I won't be lighting up any naked flames. That could be a bad life choice.
Solvent man.
Yeah. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Mike, for coming along. And until next week, and Jess will be back next week, which will make hopefully the technical side of it run a little more smoothly. Until next week, thank you all for joining us, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All the tabletop role-playing news, we aim to amuse and we aim to enthuse. And Morrus is unofficial tabletop RPG.